actually starting to get so pissed off at this show for multiple reasons. I was already pretty mad, but it's starting to get ridiculous. We'll get to the recent episode parts when we get to it, but even just the time the show airs infuriates me. Like, first episode, Friday at 6 p.m, not really prime time, but it feels like they're at least trying to get the ratings up after lackluster pre-promotions by getting as close to it as possible. Second and third episode at 5 p.m, understandable, but still probably a bit confusing that the slot changed. Fourth episode onwards, it's at 10:40 p.m. on a Wednesday. Who exactly is the target audience here? Half the girls on the show have a bedtime earlier than that. It's also an hour and a half plus ads. The show doesn't finish airing until past midnight. Who is supposed to be watching this? It sure as hell isn't the children who should be when it's so clear they want to debut a group full of minors. It's no wonder the ratings haven't crossed 1% since the first episode on the largest commercial channel in the country. Anyways, time to get into the episode, I guess. I'm really losing so much motivation for the show because it is so frustrating to watch the older contestants, the 17 and ups by the way, get constantly sidelined or only get the leader edit. Don't get me wrong, I love a good leader edit, but it's the only storyline they get. 3 minutes into the thing, we finally get past the recap and take it to you performance video. Let me tell you, this is really not the kind of entertainment I would normally seek out after a 9-hour workday. But I carry on, because I have people counting on me. I really should just rename this to I Watched Universe Ticket Episode X, so you don't have to. Might do that for some older survival shows later. The battles resume with the two low-ranked teams. Team 1 named themselves Volcano, while Team 2 names themselves Bulldozer. They actually decided to highlight why the members got placed there, so I'll recap that as well, because a lot of comments on the last video were confused about it. Kwon lip-synced during the level test, not good. For Riel and Vanessa, they said their singing was too low, and they clearly struggled with the choreo. That's the general sentiment we're taking with us for how the low group became the low group. Adora and Nano join us again as Wenders. I think I called him Nico or something in the last video. I forgot to write it down and the English subs kept blocking the Korean one, so I couldn't verify it. Sorry to him. This time, vendors face off against Galactica, made up of Friday and Chung. These men appear to be JYP producers. They made Dala Dala and Loco for ITZY and Set Me Free for Twice. They produced Kim Sung-jae's As I Told You for the Volcano team, consisting of Riel, Vanessa, Aya Natsumi, Minari, Park Ye-won, and Jang Sua. They take the 90s hip-hop track and turn it into a post-2018 Ujusanyo B-side, and I can't be mad. Most of them fight to get part 4, and it ultimately goes to Sua, which I don't know what those producers were thinking, because to me, Yewon and Riel sounded the most natural doing it. Genuinely on the verge of believing the conspiracy theory that the show producers rigged this part distribution to push Sua, but we can get into that later. They really like wasting storyline time on food. Interesting to me is that they're giving Yewon the leader edit, but trying to frame it like she's not a good leader, while also having her voiceover explain she feels like her teammates are complacent, and then they'll interject with Riel talking about how desperate she is to keep performing, and all I'm reading is that I'm right when I say the older contestants see the show as their last chance, while the younger ones probably think they need to debut, but they can still try again if they don't. Yet again, the person with the killing part isn't performing to the producer's expectations, almost like they keep picking the wrong people on purpose. It's obviously not Sua's fault she's bad at emoting, she's 14, but that was also obvious from the first part distribution, so I don't know why the producers are acting shocked. Yet again, we're forced to watch a child cry when they don't live up to unreasonable expectation. How is she supposed to compare with the experience of a debuted main vocalist and someone in their 20s? This is why if you're going to have the children compete, either make sure they're exceptional, have them compete with their peers, or don't get their hopes up just to pull the rug out from under them. She's 14! This is emotional torture. For this performance, they don't do the extra long intro, but they just use clips from the middle of the performance to recap the team members. In the end, Sua got to keep her part, so why even put her through that mess to begin with? Overall, I wasn't very satisfied with this team. There were some pretty unstable voices, and as much as I was rooting for Riel, she was clearly struggling to catch her breath by the end, but I will give her that her stage presence was among the best in the group, and she did great at that little rap section. Vanessa also showed a remarkable improvement. Amazing what getting a suitable part can do for a person. She still has a ways to go, but this is definitely a foundation she can build on. Minari just doesn't have the type of voice I'm drawn to, but vocally she did okay. Not sure why they had her do a drawn out high note, because that's where she lost me, but the other parts were fine enough. Sua was. It just wasn't the part for her, and she and Minari need more vocal training just to be able to not just be stable, but actually sound good. They sounded very monotonous to me. Park Ye-won got the wrong part to stand out, but she so clearly belongs on that stage. She has everything a good idol needs. But my big standout was Aya Natsumi. Her voice was perfect. I am a sucker for deeper tones for sure, but beyond that, she has a somewhat throaty tone, like nasal, but from the throat, and it sounded so good in this song. I found myself waiting for her parts to come on so I could hear more. She was also stellar in stage presence. I can't comment on anyone's dancing unless it's egregious, and I didn't notice anything offensively bad from anyone, but Riel, Yeon, and Aya carried the stage presence to me. As for feedback, Yunha kinda ripped into them for the lack of emotion, and she is allowed to. Have you guys heard the woman sing? If you haven't, Big Picture changed my life. Hyoyeon also reminds them not to give up just because they rank low, and at least what I got from the comment was that giving up when you rank low is just going to keep you in the low ranks, and she's absolutely right. Nobody likes a quitter. People like the fighter, the person who gets knocked down and then gets right back up, like Aoi Sohee. Team Bulldozer, made up of Jelly Danka, Narumi, Yona, Idodo Yui, Kwon Eun-hyung, and Ho Seung-bin, get clones Nan, a 90s dance song. They rearranged it to what they call Girl Crush and what I call Espa-core. The background isn't really focused on drama. They give Narumi an ambitious leader storyline while Eun-hyung and Jelly get the lagging behind storyline. At least this time they follow the formula and show Narumi stepping up to help Jelly, but they just leave Eun-hyung behind, which is strange. Maybe that just highlights she wasn't doing that badly except for the first few days. On to the performance, same thing with the intro as with Volcanoes. Narumi starts off the performance so strong. She and Yona are proving why they're in my top 8 from this intro, and they do well in their first solo parts. One thing I noticed was Jelly didn't sing her killing part, probably because it was a whisper section, which is hard to pull off live. But the reactions make it seem like she did perform it live. They cut to someone from the other team, didn't register who, borderline sobbing. That is so mean of the producers. This team is definitely benefiting a lot from the production, and half of them were carrying the others. For the solo critiques, Narumi, I will see you in the debut lineup. She was right to say she's better than the other girls because she is. Vocals, dance, stage presence, she brought it all, the full package. And leadership skills too. We have to give credit where it's due. She is at the bottom of the reverse pyramid carrying the whole team. Yona absolutely killed that high note. She needs to work on her stage presence, but the dance and especially the vocals are there for sure. I saw her potential in the last stage and she realized it here. I do fear there was probably some or a lot of background vocals overlaid in the broadcast version, but I'll have to check back in for that. I would genuinely be shocked if she pulled it off so cleanly after that intense choreo, but she hit it in the studio, and with a bit more training, she will be a perfect lead, possibly even main vocal. Jelly carried vocally. She was really stable and definitely let those years of training show, but I always find myself wanting more from her stage presence. She pulled off the choreo well, especially considering the background, but I want to see more on stage. I can't find the proper word because all my brain will come up with is enthusiasm, but that's not what she's lacking. In Icelandic, the word basically means to live the stage, perhaps embody, but that's still not quite it. Just combine embody and enthusiasm and you get the gist. She has the vocals down though, and that is more than a lot of contestants can say. Speaking of which, Kwon Eun-hyung, I don't have any criticism for, but I don't have too much praise either. Her rap section was really good though, and that storyline edit about her struggle really didn't come across on stage. Good for her. Yui is just not the most stable vocalist, and her stage presence is really shaky. She shows potential, but I don't think she'll improve enough on the show. Semi-final material maybe? Finally, Ho Seung-bin. Not a lot to say at all, just not very remarkable to me. Judges' critiques revealed that the team brought it, but Hyoyeon agrees with me that Narumi carried, and that is the most validating thing ever. Sejong praises Jelly's vocals, complimenting her tone in the song, which I agree with, then moves on to Eun-hyung and praises her for improving so much. I guess I agree, but I really don't remember her previous performances. Again, the fight isn't too fair since one song was produced with a strong performance in mind, but even then, it's clear Bulldozer were the stronger team. Narumi and Jelly get the promotion. I think we already know I would have promoted Narumi and Yona, but I'm not mad at this. I would have been mad if Narumi hadn't been promoted. As for the losing ranks, first to go is Aya Natsumi, followed by Riel, then Vanessa, and finally Park Ye-won. This is such, I don't want to curse, but it includes a male cow, I'll tell you that much. The producer intended final lineup is really taking shape, and I fear it does not include very many contestants over the age of 16. If it was me, I would have kept Aya Natsumi and Park Yewon. I would have felt awful to eliminate Riel, but Yewon and Aya Natsumi earned their place in this performance, and it is the most unfair thing to send them home. Now it's time for the high ranks. Team 1 calls themselves Highway, Team 2 goes with Forever. They easily split themselves into the dance versus vocal team. They continue their weird concept of giving the high rankers overwhelming benefits. Now they're getting original songs. This time we have Galactica and Papermaker submitting their songs. Galactica have a song called Whatever, an obviously teen crush song with some slight cosmic elements. Basically if ITZY did a space concept. Whatever goes to Forever, made up of Im Soon, Alicia, Lee Hoo-ran, Lee Eun-chae, Jin Hyun-ju, Oh Da-eun, and Lee Soo-bin. Papermaker submit Rush Hour. It's somewhere between a teen crush and more mature concept. Reminds me of like late Twice Japanese tracks, some elements of ITZY's Kill Shot and Triple S's Rising. For this song, we have Bang Yoona, Bae Yeram, Hwang Shi-in, Yuri, Kim Soo-jin, Niji, and Kim Soo-bin. They also let the high-ranked teams buy clothes for the stage for personal use. The show makes no sense. Like, they're obviously promoting the Suppressor, but why not then have them feature more prominently in their wardrobe? And then they take them to get desserts. This is still not as bad as Daeon's house. We're starting with Highway, aka Rush Hour Team. Again, because of the parts distribution, we have to watch a 14-year-old crying. I'm just so tired. At least she got the hard worker edit. On the other side, we have Kim Soo-bin struggling with the song's key being too high and Kim Soo-jin thinking this is an individual competition. Again, they also do the classic thing where the high rankers get too complacent and only one of them is taking things seriously, I think in an effort to make Bang Yoona look better. In the performance, was anybody else hearing a lot of backtrack? Don't get me wrong, I think some were definitely singing live on top of it throughout, but again, we have Nidzi relying on the backtrack for her low voice parts but pulling off her rap section. What emphasizes it to me is how little breathing we hear. There are girls who are selling it a lot more and who I think were live, such as Kim Soo-bin and Bae Yeram, who was clearly live because I could hear her catching her breath. But then Kim Soo-jin's high note didn't look or sound right for what's been going on stage. I'm only pointing it out because that doesn't feel like a fair comparison when a majority of the other stages have clearly had backtrack and live vocals. I need to hear the raw audio file. For the solo critique, I don't really know what to say. I was disappointed in Bae Yeram because the judges keep putting her above her sister and I'm just not seeing or hearing it. It's inevitable that we will compare, so I'm not trying to pit them against each other, but out of the two of them, Haram has consistently impressed me even when I know what to expect, and Yeram hasn't. Also, why do they keep giving them such short parts when they're so obviously some of the best performers on the show? We're clearly supposed to come out of this thinking highly of Bang Yoona, but I don't know, she wasn't as captivating as standouts from other groups. She does show a bit of center potential, but she reminds me of Shuhwa in a lot of ways. Visually, vocally, as a center, I can't even comment on the vocals because Yeram is the only one I'm confident was singing live throughout, but even then, there are some parts. Susan did alright, but I noticed she still did the thing on stage that the vocal coach criticized her for doing during practice. But again, she's 14, what are we realistically expecting? She needs one-on-one training, and honestly, she needs an attitude adjustment because her view of this as an individual competition is going to be her downfall. Maybe she did perform it live, but I don't think we heard the live version of her in high note. It's the hiding behind the hair that makes it extra suspicious to me. Nidzi relying on the backtrack for her first part really left a sour taste in my mouth for the rest of her performance. I could hear the live vocals hiding behind the backtrack, and that threw me off so much. She was much better in the second part, but still, I just can't get over it. Credit where it's due, Kim Soo-bin was serving powerful vocals, but I think her head voice isn't developed enough and she relied on the backtrack for those parts. Hwang Shi-in has a serious case of blank face syndrome and it detracts from her performance so much. She didn't sound bad, she danced well, but the expressions, not there. Yuri's voice disappeared so much for me, all I could focus on was how I could not hear a distinction between most syllables. It just boggled my brain so much I kept looking at the lyrics during her parts. I know there will most likely be some people thinking, they were just so stable, they sounded like they were lip-syncing, but besties. We both know that's not true when literally every other group sounded like they were singing live. Even if they performed live the whole time, it was probably SBS trying to pull an Mnet and overlaying studio vocals over already heavy heavy backtrack. They probably did it to all the stages, but this one was the most obvious. I'm probably the only person who felt a bit disappointed in this performance because it's just not living up to the standard of last episode's Girls on Top, and it makes me question even more how they decided who goes to the high level and who goes to average. The judges were thoroughly impressed. I guess we saw different things this time. They shower praises on Yuna and Nizi for their performance and for Sujin's vocals. Forever team are bringing a cuter vibe to the stage, expected since they have the most literal children. Now we get into the main part drama from the teaser last time. The producers suggest raising the key after hearing Jin Hyunju sound too relaxed. Alicia is a force to be reckoned with, and I will for sure be supporting her if she debuts later on. I just don't like the thought of debuting a 14-year-old. The producers reassign all the parts and Alicia becomes the main vocalist to Sowon's disappointment. I understand why though. Sowon has the power but it's missing the texture, and Alicia has both. Again, we run into the emoting issue with Sowon, and I think we need to acknowledge that this is an issue with most of the younger contestants in general. Alicia is the only one I'm not hearing this issue with, but she's also been performing, not just singing, for most of her life. She's the most debut ready out of all of them, but I still think she should wait. Another 12-year-old crying because the reality of the business is too much. Big sigh. Not at Sowon, at the show producers. As much as survival shows are brutal to older contestants, they're even worse for literal children who haven't even gotten a chance to develop their emotional regulation to the point it can deal properly with constructive criticism and sacrificing for the team. I did have to let out a small giggle at Sowon copying Alicia, and because of that they got the same comment from Hyunju about focusing on facial expressions above finalizing the choreo. I don't think copying Alicia was the right move, honestly. She should have just gone up to her and asked for help with her part. Now the performance. I actually preferred this performance. I could hear the mics were definitely turned on here, and that's already a big boost, but I really don't think the notes from the producer were applied. I also think the girls are severely underutilized to give Alicia more parts. Like, I get it. Alicia is insanely talented and skilled, not even just for her age, but she's giving plenty of debuted idols a run for their money. But this isn't the Pussycat Dolls. This isn't a group built around one vocalist center everything. To me, it throws off the balance of the group. Like, great for Alicia to be recognized for her talent, and I'm not blaming her at all. This goes directly to the song and possibly show producers for turning this into a stage that lives and dies with Alicia. Take, for example, Bulldozer. Even when I think Narumi carried, it's not to the detriment of the other girls, and it's not because she's forced to due to having overwhelmingly more parts. Again, this is not Alicia's fault. She was just excited to be recognized. I honestly think having this many parts may have even negatively affected Alicia's own performance, but I'll get into that. Jin Hyunju was amazing in this stage. She didn't even get to show off her full skill set, but she was definitely someone who caught my eye and my ear throughout. Eunchae did good in her parts, really nothing more to say. She definitely has some training to do to stand out properly, but she's not bad on stage at all. Oh-dan was disappointing here, definitely not the same charming voice I heard last mission, and again, I'm gonna blame the producers for how they arranged it. Yihuran, I was pleasantly surprised by. She sounded good on stage, and she was one of the very few people my eye was drawn to when it wasn't even her part. Im Seon, as always, brought the vocals, but she couldn't implement the producers' critiques for her opening part. Disappointing. Lee Subin didn't have the most stable vocals, but you know what? I'll take slightly unstable vocals over lip syncing any day. She was still fun to watch on stage. Finally, Alicia. Obviously the vocals were stellar, she can sing, rap, dance, and all-rounder for sure, but there were some parts where her on-stage confidence dropped and her stage presence with it. Particularly the rap portion, which I get, it's stressful to rap in a language you don't speak properly, which is exactly why the producers should have chilled on the Alicia parts. Generally, when it wasn't her part, her stage presence was amazing, and I truly believe if she had gotten fewer parts, they would have all been stronger and the performance would have overall been much better. For all of them. I went back to rewatch this one because I had to leave for work in the middle of the performance, so maybe I was just spotting things you don't notice on a first viewing. Did any of you feel the same way? The judges were weirdly sparse on individual comments. They just praised Alicia singing and so on and Eunchae's all-roundedness. Seems to me the producers have an agenda. Generally, the judges agreed that Forever had the better performance overall, but that Highway pulled off the individuality better. I can see where they're coming from a little bit. I went back to watch Rush Hour again and amend some of my critiques so I could see if I really thought Forever did better, and you know what? Yeah, I do. They may not have had as many individuals stand out, producer problem, but I found their performance a lot more fun. It's like I've been saying, the show keeps pitting performance-focused, insert type of crush concept stages against fresh and youthful ones built on audience sentimentality rather than wow factor, and Forever is the first team I think broke past that and deserved the win. Predictably, Highway takes the win, but I can also get where the judges are coming from. You want more strong individual performers to advance, you pick the team that has stronger individuals. Having them lose would force them to eliminate two of them, them, and that is an easier choice to make when you don't think every member brought something the performance needed. Which is again why I say Justice for Forever team, the producers sabotaged them. They chose to promote Bang Yoona, big shocker, Nidzi, Baeyeram, meaning both sisters passed, and Kim Soojin. I would have gone with Soobin, but perhaps actually knowing you were hearing the real vocals was the key difference to our experiences. On Forever, however, two must go home, and they chose Lee Soo-bin and Oh Da-eun. I can't be too mad, I would have chosen them too based on this performance alone, despite Oh Da-eun being in my top 8. They end the episode by teasing the first promotion ceremony, and then it just abruptly cuts, no preview. Does this mean we're finally reaching live updates? Like, we're not going to be voting for girls who were already eliminated? Because 2 out of my top 8 were eliminated, and so were like 4 of my backups. I know I'm definitely someone who can't say, it's time to talk about the age thing, because, well, but we need to talk about how out of the 30 contestants left, only 8 of them are adults. Just 26% are over the age of 18. There's literally no chance this group will be a majority adults. I'm seriously doubtful the average age will be higher than 15. The show has some heavy age bias in more ways than one, and I will get into them with examples. The older contestants will get a leader storyline or they will get a struggle storyline. Those are their only 2 options. Examples of a leader storyline include Jin Hyunju, Oh Da-eun, Yeona, Lee Sun-woo, Narumi, and Jeon Jin-young. Examples of a struggle storyline include Jung Ji-won, the girl who turned off the camera, and Kim Soo-min. Then there's a combination of the 2 with examples like Kwon Chae-won and honestly Kim Soo-min and Yeona as well. How do we then end up seeing the older contestants? As leaders or struggling? This means we won't be as focused on talent and will instead be focused on who will be the best leader. In Narumi's storyline, for example, we got a combination of a leader and carrier storyline, but she's also 17. She'll either be 18 or be turning 18 by the time the group debuts, so she's a candidate for a talented leader. Juxtaposed with Jin Hyunju and Park Ye-won, who are both extremely talented and experienced idols, they're 22 and 19 respectively. They would be almost 23 and 20 for the debut. I'll get into why that would be an issue. Point is, they keep forcing the older contestants into one of these 2 boxes, so we accept them as the leader if they make it into the group, and will gravitate towards the younger contestants as we will see them as overall more talented and interesting. Now, if we also look at the parts distribution drama, particularly with this level test, they pit 14-year-old Gabi against 16-year-old Nana and 14-year-old Alicia against 12-year-old Im So-won, even though, in my opinion, Gu Kyo-ryun, 17, and Jin Hyunju, 22, were the most suited for the parts in question. But we never got to see them audition for the part properly, except for when Hyunju was so good they had the producer suggesting they change the key. Why would that be their response to someone crushing it? K-pop's obsession with high vocals needs to be studied. So what we then end up with is a choice between a young minor or an even younger minor. Everything is designed to make us gravitate towards the underage contestants. Notice how even though Lee Sun-woo has gotten the main vocal part twice now, the only time it was highlighted was when she made a mistake, and even then her storyline was just about her being a leader both times. Because we're not supposed to see her as talented, just as a leader who's like not even that good compared to the literal children. And that brings us to the final point. I'm definitely not the only person to notice it or point it out, but it is extremely obvious that the goal of the show is to create a group with a concept that's fresh like New Jeans, but perhaps even younger. Ignoring Nan and Girls on Top, all the songs on the show have been produced as either a teen concept or as a magical concept. And even with the revenge battle, all the concept names were something associated with youthful or fresh concepts. Enchanting, pure, sparkling, cute, charismatic. As I told you, sounds exactly like if New Jeans released an early Oh My Girl or Roju Sonyo song. But while New Jeans leans into more R&B and Pink Panther-esque style vocals, it's clear they want this group to lean into the classical innocent K-pop concept in melody and vocals. Just give it a thought. Listen to the songs from this challenge again, then tell me if I'm wrong or not. Now, New Jeans are notorious for debuting as minors, all of them except one, but their youngest was 14 and oldest was 18, which is still a minor in Korea, as their legal age of majority is 19. And no, that is not in Korean age, and that has not changed with Korea abolishing their age system. It's always been 19 in international age. So it makes sense why SBS would be pushing for a group exclusively made up of minors when they're obviously trying to follow in New Jeans' footsteps. Then to differentiate them, they'll lean into a more innocent and youthful concept, combining the Western production with K-pop vocals, so why not push the age even lower? My current post-elimination top 8 is, again in no particular order, Jayla, Narumi, Yona, Jin Hyunju, Beharam, Lee Sunwoo, with Jun Jin-young and Gu Gyeoryeon moving up. Even my lineup is half made up of minors, but they're 17 at least. However, these are the contestants I think the producers want us to root for. Alicia, 14. She gets tons of positive screen time for both her skills and personality. She also gets a lot of cuts to her for reactions. Oyuna, 14. Lots of screen time, lots of sympathetic edits. We're clearly supposed to see her as one of the most capable all-rounders on the show. I wasn't keeping count, but it felt like half of all the reaction shots in this episode went to her. Bang Yuna, 14. She got the knockdown but back up again at it this time around. She got a majority of the center and killing parts for Rush Hour, also already under the final group's company as a trainee. Kotoko, 15. Lots of people have pointed out already how her cuteness and dedicated edits save her from elimination, including myself. Clearly she's someone the producers want for her charm more than talent. Im So-won, 12. No question, most people even suspect the group is meant to be structured around her. Strong suspicions with Lee Eun-chae, 12. She generally gets positive screen time, but I think they want her to get voted in. Currently, her rank is quite low. Bae Yeram, 15. If neither of the Bae sisters get into the group, they know they're screwed and the group will be accused of rigging because they're not only extremely talented, they're also one of the most interesting parts about the show. Yeram has gotten the straight pass from the judges twice now, despite Haram being more popular according to the votes. Hwang Shiin, 14. They keep giving her screen time even when it isn't something interesting or related to her directly. Tried to set up a rivalry for her only for the other contestant to be eliminated by votes. Gabi, 14, pretty consistent rankings and always gets the talented edit, but last episode showed her as uncooperative and sulky, not very sympathetic, and she got the unicorn ticket last time. Kim Soo-jin, 14, consistently gets the too talented for her own good edit, possibly setting up for a redemption, got the unicorn ticket, will probably be pushed with Bae Yeram as a dance duo. Suspicions, but needs further evidence for Jalidanka, 16. She gets favorable edits and a lot of reaction shots. They clearly like her vocals and visuals, but if it comes down to it, I think they would drop her in favor of Alicia. Nana, 16. I think they like her popularity and appeal more than anything else, but they would drop her to push Kotoko's underdog storyline, I think. Narumi, 17, they would probably like having her as the leader, but she prefers a darker concept and their leader edit of her was far from perfect. Jang Soo-ah, 14. Lots of people suspect she was picked to survive because she's a producer pick, but I think she was actually just pushed to get rid of the contestants who were threatening the popularity ranks of the contestants the producers actually want. They don't care whether she stays for a while or not, they just needed Riel, Vanessa, and Park Ye-won out. Aya was just collateral damage because not only was she good on stage, there's a good chance she might absorb Riel and Vanessa's votes, and they would rather those go to Alicia. That brings us to the top 8 of the last vote. Vanessa, Lee Sunwoo, Kwon Eun-hyung, Chae Hae-rin, Alicia, Riel, Jalidanka, Oyuna. Out of these, they've already eliminated Vanessa, 15, Chae Hae-rin, 20, and Riel, 23, effectively pushing So-won, Gabi, and Yona into the top 8 in votes. Don't be surprised if we start seeing pushback against Lee Sunwoo, Kwon Eun-hyung, and Yona next episode. Hwa Seon-bin, Kim Soo-min, and Bae Haram aren't safe either because after them is Nana, Narumi, and Minari, with Kotoko close behind. I didn't mean to get into this level of analysis, but I just want to point out that even if you don't want to vote for any reason, the only way we can really change the trajectory of the group is by pushing older contestants up the ranks. If it becomes clear that we, the viewers, aren't subscribing to their all-minors agenda, they'll either be forced to eliminate all the older contestants themselves and truly expose their plans, or will succeed and not get a group of children. And I think they do have the girl crush contingency if it were to happen that the group ends up much older than their goal. This video is already way longer than I was intending, so I just wanted to put this here at the end. I am well aware that the channel K-Stats has been using my videos, in particular my critiques, and feeding them into AI to make their own videos. They aren't as blatant about it in this second video, but they aren't exactly subtle either. Unfortunately, there is nothing I can do about it. There's nothing in the YouTube guidelines prohibiting it, and there's no way to copyright claim them just for paraphrasing or using my exact words. They've also started mixing some Reddit comments in there to diversify, but really the only thing I can do is encourage you guys to not watch their videos, since I have no idea how many more creators their content is stolen from, and to spread the word about them stealing content. I would say you can also subscribe to my channel, comment on, and like my videos so they get pushed, but my goal isn't just to get more likes and views. I'm just pissed that someone is profiting from my effort and they don't even have the decency to either watch the show or write the script themselves. This is why I will always be anti-AIification of art and media.